Hello, Ian here. I am a professional chef. I've kind of done a little bit of everything in my career. I started out at a mid-level, upper-class restaurant, recently remodeled. Moved on from there, and I worked at a local club. And then from there, I spent a couple years cooking at a college. From there, I spent 6.5 years working at a Relais and Chateau, which was like the creme de la creme of the fancy stuff. And now I'm an executive chef at a hospital. So I kind of know my way around the kitchen, know my way around ingredients and stuff, and I figured I would try out some Hello Fresh items. Yesterday we did a burger. Today we are going old school barbecue pork sloppy joes. So let's start breaking out the ingredients. We've got the ground pork that they provide. And here in our fancy brown bag, let's got our buns. Potato buns, just like the burger kit. They were really good. I liked those a lot. Chipotle chili powder for the ranch sauce. Let's see. Barbecue sauce. Let's see what else. Potatoes. How many potatoes? Lots of little potatoes for the potato wedges. And a red onion for the pickled onions, and that's a massive onion for making a little bit of pickled onions. Lime for also making the pickled onion. A lot of little packets of things here. So we've also got cornstarch. Marzetti Buttermilk Ranch, not my favorite ranch. Ketchup. And chicken stock. It appears to be a very, very, very heavily concentrated, reduced chicken stock. Very gelatinous in the package. Alright, so really quick here. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to wash the potatoes really quick and dry them just so that's done, because I know one of the first things I have to do is make potato wedges. So let's start with some clean potatoes. Sorry, I forgot to turn the camera around before I started doing this, so unfortunately you're going to stare at the cutting board or the countertop and the ground pork while I wash the potatoes. And then, here, I'll spin the camera around now. I'm going to dry the potatoes off really quick, just because it keeps them from sliding around on the cutting board when I'm cutting them. They're dry. My kitchen's not overly large, especially as far as countertop space goes, so this is what I generally do with my cutting boards. I just put it across the first bay of my sink, and that preserves the little bit of countertop space I have for everything else. So really quick, other instructions on the potatoes. I've already turned on my oven to preheat to 425. It wants 1/2 inch thick wedges, which sounds about right. So let's make sure, yep, you're in frame. Always be mindful of your fingers. Keep your fingertips away from the pointy end. It's kind of weird that they use such small potatoes for this. In yesterday's burger kit, they had sweet potato wedges, and they sent me 2 much larger sweet potatoes, though they were not equal in size, so one required a little more processing to make even-sized pieces for even cooking. But I guess that's not really a big deal. They're all gonna work out. These will just be more fork-friendly. I'm not that civilized. I eat a lot of food with my hands, especially potato wedges. I mean, that seems like common sense to eat with your fingers. It's just a fancy French fry, more or less. But once you wash and dry the potatoes, making some wedges only takes I don't know, it'll take a minute maybe to do all these. These are actually really nice potatoes here. After I criticize them for being small, but I mean, look at those. Those are nice. Okay. So, what's it tell me to do here? Have peel thinly slice 1/4 of the onion. Finely dice the remaining onion. Half the lime. Toss potatoes in baking sheet with large doses of oil, salt, pepper. So we're going to do that first. So I always hit my sheet trays with a little non-stick cooking spray. Again, makes cleaning a little easier, makes the food come off a little easier. To me, it just makes sense. So we're just going to do this. Throw them on there. Just like so. And I'm going to leave them piled up in a little pile there. And hit them with a little bit of vegetable oil. Easier to do when they're all piled together like this. I can spread them out after I season them. Then we're going to hit them with a little bit of kosher salt. A little bit more. And some fresh cracked black pepper. My wife criticizes how much black pepper I use.
He uses way too much.
That's my wife. I use the exact amount that is intended. Or whatever happens to come out of the grinder as I twist it. Alright. Tossing them right on the sheet tray. Just spread them out a little bit. I had turned the oven on about 2 minutes before I started the video just to give it a little bit of a head start with the preheat. Because we're still not there yet. But we're going to set those over out of the way for a minute. And then we are going to peel the red onion. Which I'm just going to throw a little bowl here in the sink to catch all my peels and scraps so it's easier to dump them in the garbage after the fact. A lot of times we'll do something like that. Just set it right there. And everything will just wind up in there. It dirties an extra dish, but have a dishwasher for a reason. Off, cut it in half. Get all that paper off. Not for you, Dixie May. Right. So I think it wants me to thinly slice 1/4 of the onion. And then finally dice the remaining. Alright, so do that. Alright. Let's see here. I'm trying to see the camera angle. So the trick here to do this the safest way possible, you want to keep your hand like this. Curl your fingers back, tuck your thumb, and that way the knife can ride the fingers, the edge of the fingers. And as long as you at no point lift it above your fingers like that, you won't cut yourself. So we can thinly slice. Just like that. And this is to make the pickled onions, which it asked for having some bowls ready. So years ago, my wife bought a set of these really colorful, fancy little bowls. I don't even know if they're labeled for how much their volume is. No. But she bought them to be cereal bowls, and I'll just tell you right now, they're not cereal bowls. However, they're great condiment bowls, or like you're doing burgers or tacos, you can put all your condiments in these. They work great.
I bought them for oatmeal.
Oatmeal is hot cereal. Operative word there? Cereal. And then, let's see. We're going to go ahead, throw those in a bowl. For pickling. Except for that piece that my puppy is eating. And yes, I know dogs are not supposed to eat onions. One little slice is not going to hurt her. The amount of things she's eaten she's not supposed to eat is, I don't know, a little crazy. So what am I doing with this? Oh, the other quarter I think goes into the barbecue sloppy Joe sauce. All right, so we're just going to do a little julienne cut there. Speed 90 degrees. And that'll get us our dice. Normally I wear contact lenses, and I am immune to onions. And now today I'm wearing my glasses. And I'm telling you right now, I'm feeling every little bit of these onions. We're just going to set that aside in a little bowl until I'm ready for it. Oh, my eyeballs are burning right now. This is a very, very fresh onion. I'm just going to scoop all this up into this bowl here. All right. Okay. Set that aside for a minute. And then it wants me to what? Blah, blah, blah. Half the lime, half the... I don't need half the buns. Potatoes. All right, I'm going to get them in the oven. Alexa, set potato timer for 25 minutes.
Potato timer, 25 minutes, starting now.
All right. So I'm going to need 1 tablespoon. I missed that. Oh, seriously, those onions are messing with my eyes. Alright, so the next step is it wants me to combine the barbecue sauce, the ketchup, the stock concentrate, half of this little cornstarch packet, and a tablespoon of water. Whew. Dixie, you gotta move, sweetie. Thank you. So we're gonna just squeeze all that ketchup out of there. And then we are going to do the same thing with the barbecue sauce. Sauce on me. Dixie, watch out, sweetie. Now we want chicken stock, concentrate, which let's see if the camera's gonna, yeah. See how thick that is. Oh yeah, it is pretty thick. Half the cornstarch, which seems like a lot, honestly. I'm just going to read that one more time. Yeah, half the cornstarch. Alright, that's about half. A tablespoon of water here. Just like that. And then here I've got a real tiny little baby spatula. Spatula, wow, see? Whisk. I swear I actually do know what I'm talking about. Alright, everything's incorporated. Cornstarch is dissolved. We're going to set that aside. And then now it wants us to finish the pickling process. So we got to get juice from half the lime, quarter teaspoon of sugar, and a pinch of salt. So we're going to come over here, a little trick with citrus, kind of put some pressure on it, roll it around a little bit. I'm going to do it over here so I don't spill the onions. This helps break up the skin or the cells, the membranes inside the citrus. Makes it a little bit easier to juice. I don't have any form of reamer or citrus juicer. I used to, and I think I got rid of it at one point in time. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. All right, so now it's a little softer. So cut it in half. And just apply a lot of force and squeeze away. And this is where, if you have any little cuts or scratches on your fingers or your hands that you didn't know about before, you'll know about it now. But hey, I'm not feeling any surprise, stinging, burning, desire to cry, other than what the onions did to me already. So I guess I'm good. All right, wash my hands a little bit here. All right, Dixie, I'm sorry. All right. So, how much sugar did I say? Quarter teaspoon. So, I probably don't have the quarter teaspoon. Okay. Perfect. Quarter teaspoon. That is a very minuscule amount of sugar. But then again, not exactly making a lot of pickled onions here. And then it called for just a pinch of salt, which I use kosher salt, and I use pinch pot. Because again, I do this for a living, and it's just so much easier. And we're going to stir that up a little bit, and then it's just to microwave it for 30 seconds. So, I'm just going to do this. I just have chopsticks. Toss those around a little bit. Lime juice and sugar and salt. And the reasoning behind microwaving it is it will do a couple things. Warming up will help the onions soften a little bit, but it will also help expedite the pickling process. And we might see them turn a little bit pink. Okay, so we've got that going. And then in this other little fancy colorful bowl here, I'm going to mix up the ranch dressing and a pinch of the chipotle powder, because we'll need more of it later. So this is Dixie Mae. This is one of my assistants. She's our 9-month-old yellow lab. And down here is her big sister, Abby. And they are sisters. They have the same father. They're just 6.5 years apart in age. And they're both eager to help out in the kitchen. Mostly with the taste testing aspect of things, but still, it's the thought that counts. Okay, there's our ranch. Good pal. And then we just want a little pinch of this chipotle powder, which, let's be honest, is all my wife could possibly handle anyways. So we're just going to snip the top right off the bag here. And then we're going to grab my handy dandy chopsticks again and give it a quick little stir. In the meantime, the microwave timer has since gone off, as I'm sure you heard. Alright, so we're going to check on the onions. They're nice and steamy. They've pinked up a little bit. They're much softer. Give them one more little stir. And now we're going to set those aside just to let them continue to soak in the lime juice and the sugar and the salt. Alright, so next it wants us to heat up some oil. So really quick, we're gonna get the cast iron warming up. Move that. Make sure the camera's not gonna fall into anything here. Let the cast iron get a couple seconds, at least a high heat to warm up. So next we add the diced onions in the oil. Oil, then the diced onions. So just a little drizzle of oil into my seasoned cast iron skillet here. And ideally what you want to look for is for that oil to start to shimmer a little bit. That's usually a good clue that it's hot enough, but if you can see, it's very slowly moving when I move the pan, so it's not warm yet. It'll move just like water once the oil's hot. And that honestly, once the pan's warm, doesn't take that long for that small amount of oil to get hot. And the camera probably is not going to pick it up when it shimmers. It's not quite there yet. I know this is not the most exciting part here. Okay, there we go, ready? And hopefully the camera's picking up the sound here. You can hear the sizzle of the onions a little bit there. Means your oil's hot enough. Alright, so I'm a big fan of wooden spoons. Move the onions around a little bit so that some of the hot fat makes it onto all the onions here. It'll help them start sweating. So it wants us to give the onions a little bit of a head start here. They need a couple of minutes. And once the onions have started to soften, we will add the pork, and then we will season with a little bit of salt and pepper. That honestly seems like a lot of onion in my personal opinion for 10 ounces of ground pork, but I also really like onion, so if you don't like onion, this probably will seem like an extremely excessive amount of onion. Alright, see they're starting to turn translucent, which means they've just about all sweated. Sweating means you're cooking them through, warming them up, they're softening them without actually browning them, which The recipe from HelloFresh doesn't actually stipulate sweat, doesn't stipulate saute, brown, caramelize, any of those things. It just says to cook until soft, which to me, I'd say we are just about there. I'm a big fan of cast iron cookware just because it absorbs the heat and then dissipates it through whatever you're cooking pretty evenly. As long as you take care of your cast iron cookware, which I'll admit I don't always do a great job of. I've been trying to lately do a much better job. Then it's very non-stick and it'll last darn near forever. Alright, so gonna grab a steak knife, open up the pork. Straw. That's a silly question. So we'll drop the ground pork in there. Gonna break up the pork here. Stir everything together a little bit here. Then we're gonna hit it with salt and pepper. Starting to smell really good. And this part won't take very long. The pork is already about halfway cooked, honestly. Alexa, how much time on my timer?
9 minutes and 10 seconds left on your computer timer.
As you can see, the pork has largely lost its pink coloring. It's important when browning meat, you want to use a large enough pan so you can spread it out. Otherwise, you really just end up steaming the meat, which is not great for flavor. About a minute. So I'm going to bring you over here with me again. We are going to go ahead and open up the buns, split them, because here in a second we're going to go ahead and throw them in the oven to toast. It really doesn't need to be any more complicated than just putting them on the rack of the oven that you got the sheet tray with the potatoes on, honestly. The HelloFresh recipe shows putting them on a sheet tray, which is really unnecessary. So we're going to come over here, set the buns down, and all I'm going to do is set them directly on the rack, just like this. And I don't know if you can see in there, I store my pizza stones in the oven. I often store my cast irons in the oven as well. And we're going to give the buns about 2 minutes. In the meantime, we are going to go back over to the meat. I'm going to adjust the legs here so that... Oh yeah. This is what we're looking for. I will say, if you follow the recipes, at least my experience now, having done 2 HelloFresh recipes 2 days in a row, if you follow the steps, the timing seems to work out pretty well. Because this is going to be done right about the time the potato wedges are done. So, the next step to this is to add the ketchup mixture, ketchup, barbecue, lime juice. So we're going to bring that over here. Use my little silicone spatula to try and get as much of that out of there as possible. Bring some heat down just a little bit. Now at this point we're just looking to have the sauce caramelize a little bit here with the meat, thicken slightly because the cornstarch, which with the hot cast iron also won't take all that long. And then we are going to hit it with a very light sprinkle of the chipotle powder, much to my wife's dismay. But that's why it tells you to only use a little bit in the ranch, because we're just going to use a little bit in the meat also. We still have a lot left, actually. Alright, watch out, Dixie. Watch out, Dixie. And now at this point, we are going to remove the buns and set them aside. Which used to be a little bit easier before I spent several months off of work recovering from surgery, so I've lost my chef hands, or cook's hands, so to speak. I'm a lot more sensitive to touching hot things than I was just 4 short months ago. Alright, so this is really all but done here. We're going to squeeze a little bit of lime juice into it. That other half of a lime here. Just like that. We're not going to worry about getting all of the juice out of that lime half because we don't need to be excessive, honestly. Alexa, how much time on my timer? Okay, so we're going to turn that down a little bit more. Okie dokie. So, next thing we're going to do, because the potatoes need another couple minutes, we're just going to clear that stuff off. We've got some freshly washed plates here out of my dishwasher. We're going to get the buns on plates. So, we'll open up the buns. Are you going to be brave and want to try pickled onions or no?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. Alexa, how much time on my timer?
You have 3 minutes left on your potato timer.
Alright. We are going to... Oh, Abby, I'm sorry. We are going to check the potatoes really quick. Dixie, watch out. Hot, hot, hot. Oh, yeah. Those are honestly probably done. If you can see, we've got a lot of caramelization happening there. Yep, I'm going to call it. Those are done. So we're going to move the silpat that I was using as a rest for my camera right over here to the sink to get washed. I'm going to pull the potatoes out and set them on my cast iron griddle there just because it's heat safe. And turn off the oven. So just like that, wedges are done, meat is done. So we are going to go ahead and build. So potatoes, pork. And then my wife probably will only want a little bit of the pickled onions, I suspect. But we'll get a couple on there. Top that. And then the ranch is supposed to be a dip for the wedges. And I happen to have a box of paper souffle cups just for dips. I didn't get them specifically for this occasion. I just happened to already have them. Honestly, this recipe doesn't make a whole lot of dip. I think it would make more sense to plate the wedges and then drizzle this over them, because this, it's like, I don't know, 2.5 tablespoons each, I'm gonna say, serving. But there we go. Hello Fresh. For 2 old school barbecue pork sloppy joes with pickled onion, potato wedges, and chipotle ranch. Thank you very much.